Creepy kids, those delightful little monsters that have become a horror trope of their very own. At some point, every parent believes their child to be the unholy spawn of the Dark One, but that's only true, 20 or 30% of the time? Maybe they're evil, maybe not. Hey, I don't know your kid. Creepy kids are a staple of the horror genre, and we've got a double feature of off-putting offspring today on Horrendous, films that go bump in your mind. Before we go any further, I must point out that we are talking about horror movies featuring evil children, and very bad things happen in those movies. So if that is not something you want to hear about, maybe this video isn't for you. Two separate movies, both called The Children, one from 1980, the other from 2008, and both dealing with little kids who suddenly very much want you dead. Some have radioactive superpowers, while others rely on sharp, pointy objects. But either way, they want you to snuff it right here and now. You can ground them all you want, they're going to put you in the ground. Aside from the title and similar themes, these two flicks have nothing to do with one another, but they do pair nicely as a double feature. Apparently, 1980's The Children was already in production in 1979 when a partial nuclear meltdown at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania had the U.S. collectively soiling itself. The threat of nuclear disaster in our own backyards was perfect horror movie fodder, so the children jumped on the meltdown bandwagon before it was cool to do so. This ode to the nuclear family wastes no time in dousing a busload of school kids from the town of Ravensback in a tangy, honey mustard-flavored radioactive fog. Sheriff Billy Hart, played by Gil Rogers, arrives to find the bus abandoned near the old cemetery. Roadblocks are set up and blithering idiots are hired as deputies. Yes, this town is doomed. I mean, this guy was the first to be revealed as the Thing in John Carpenter's The Thing. Clearly he's not to be trusted, but sure, put him on the payroll. It's soon apparent that the children of Ravensback are missing, but lots of folks don't seem to care.
I discovered the school bus out by the cemetery. None of the children were on it. Neither was Fred Mansfield, the driver.
Mansfield's a bit senile, if you ask me. He probably took them on an impromptu picnic or something.
Some people offer questionable theories about where the kids are.
Oh, hell. Fred's not much more than a kid himself, Sheriff. Well, there ain't nothing to worry about. I'll bet he took them to the stone quarry.
The quarry? Is that supposed to be reassuring? The sheriff never contacts the state police or FBI, and by the time he thinks to call for help...
Oh, God damn it, the line's dead!
That's what happens when you wait until the third act. While searching for the young'uns, Dr. Joyce Gould, played by Michelle Lamott, comes across her girlfriend's son Tommy, who hugs her to a grisly, radioactive death. It's pretty intense, with some eye-catching practical effects. Apparently, the nuclear fog has zombified the children, giving them blackened nails, a creepy 1,000-yard stare, and an embrace even hotter than Tickle Me Elmo was back in 1996. For those who say smartphones are making kids into mindless zombies, clearly radiation is the bigger concern. The only way to stop the children is by cutting off their hands, which, ironically enough, would also curtail cell phone usage. Paul, or Hair Helmet as I like to call him, is a real standout amongst the zombie kids. That early 80s haircut shows he's channeling former teen heartthrob and Tiger Beat cover boy Sean Cassidy. Paul may in fact be the Hardy Boy they never talk about. What motivates these murderous moppets? No, I mean, seriously. They seek out their loved ones and turn them into radioactive pot roast, but what do the kids get from this? Most zombies are driven by their hunger for human flesh, but these ankle-biters of the damned are in it for the sheer joy of making grown-ups look like burnt marshmallows. One particularly chilling shot, where we see several of the children reacting in unison, suggests the possibility of a hive mind, kind of like in Village of the Damned, but it's never brought up again. The fact that the sheriff and the other adults don't understand the threat until late in the film adds some nice suspense. The kids are missing, and the sheriff and his sidekick keep finding charred, mutilated corpses, but it takes them a little while to put it all together. The children are a cheesy kind of creepy, but still pretty creepy, and the kills are downright spectacular, if low-tech by today's standards. The sheriff is basically our hero, and his story arc is a delight. He starts out as this unflappable small-town lawman. Even when he's the target of unwarranted hostility, he keeps his professional demeanor.
Is this everything you had with him today?
I guess so.
By the film's climax, however, he's in a perpetual state of wide-eyed hysteria as he hacks the arms off small children with the zeal of a whack-a-mole champion. It's magnificent. The Children is entertaining as hell, and if you're fond of 80s horror, this one will fit the bill nicely. The evil kids don't show a whole lot of range, and I imagine stand there and smile like you've cracked open Mom and Dad's liquor cabinet was all the direction they got. Pacing is strong. We get our radiation leak right at the start of the movie, and folks get the old nuclear embrace regularly enough to keep your attention. While I recommend both of these movies, the 2008 film, The Children, directed by Tom Shankland, takes itself a bit more seriously, eschewing the B-movie tropes like radiation, zombies, and goth nail polish, and taking a more believable approach to murderous moppets. In 2009, The Children was released on DVD in the US as part of Sam Raimi's Ghost House Underground line. The series had some other memorable entries, including Dance of the Dead, in which dateless nerds must battle the risen dead, and Dark Floors, in which Finnish hard rockers Lordi play demonic denizens of a hospital that is frozen in time. The Children starts as sisters Elaine, played by Eva Berthisel, and Chloe, played by Rachel Shelley, along with their respective families, gather at Chloe's home in a rural part of England to celebrate the holidays. Elaine's husband Jonah, played by Stephen Campbell Moore, is something of a pretentious knob, and he offers Chloe's husband Robbie, played by Jeremy Sheffield, an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of a particularly suspect business venture.
Illegally importing rhino horn or tiger bone to cure fatal conditions like acne and impotence. I mean, you do remember what Chloe and I did for a living.
Robbie himself is giving Elaine and Jonah's teenage daughter Casey a creepy amount of attention. Casey herself wants nothing to do with her family, as this whole get-together coincides with the party of the year, and she plans on making a break for it once her friends arrive to bust her out. Casey's status as an angsty teen becomes particularly important. In a film where little kids turn evil, which side will she take? Immediately upon arrival, little Polly, played by William Howes, answers the age-old question, "What's up, Chuck?" After that, Polly is just not himself. He stares off into space, pounding mindlessly on a toy xylophone, and as his parents sleep that night, we see him standing at their bedside watching them intently. Chloe and Robbie's son, Nicky, played by Jake Hathaway, seems to be acting a little strangely too, babbling complete nonsense. At first, it seems like playful banter, but eventually grows into something more sinister. Little Leah, played by Rafaela Brooks, gets sick as well, and Miranda, played by Eva Sayre, starts showing an odd distrust of her cousins and brother. Gifts are exchanged, kids get fussy, parenting styles conflict. But most importantly, the movie takes the time to show these kids being normal kids. 1980's The Children didn't take the time to establish any pre-zombie characterization for the kids. Things are about to take a dark turn, which wouldn't be nearly as effective if we hadn't seen these kids on a more or less normal day. The next morning, all the adults remain gleefully unaware that they are characters in a horror movie, and just continue interacting with these psychotic little progeny. But a horrific sledding accident harshes the mood considerably. And sets both of these families on a dark path. These previously adorable tykes are now inexplicably driven to kill the grown-ups. The disease starts off by heightening the aggression of its victims, but ultimately turns them flat-out evil, imbuing the children with genuine malice and a degree of cunning that kids that age couldn't possibly have. I don't want to give too much away, but the film expertly portrays the horrors of parents locked in a life-or-death struggle with someone they are instinctively driven to protect, and the hard decisions that would arise from that. A few shots seem to imply that something in the woods or possibly in the snow is making the kids sick. It's nicely vague, and the origin of the sickness is never explained. It almost seems like an extinction-level event where something is programming human children to slaughter their parents. Again, that makes me think of Village of the Damned, where half-human children are influenced by an extraterrestrial intelligence. The transformation seems more supernatural than scientific, so probably the less said about where the sickness came from, the better. So there we have it. Two clutches of killer kids filmed decades apart, but equally yearning to make tacos out of mom and dad. As I've said, I think the two pair nicely together. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, and I make it a point to respond to comments whenever possible. And if you by some chance enjoyed my rambling, a like and or subscribe would absolutely make my day. See you next time.